Okay, thank you. So please note that the board meeting is being live streamed and will be recorded and published online for public after the meeting. Can members activate their cameras where possible to enable you to join by video? And can all attendees mute their microphones when not speaking? And please do not come in during items unless I invite you to do so. Can I confirm that all members have been able to access the papers for today's meeting in advance?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. If members wish to speak at any point, please raise your hand in the Teams meeting, or if you've dialed into the meeting, you can raise your hand by pressing *5. If any members lose connection or have any technical issues during the meeting, please alert the Deputy Clerk by separate Teams instant message if possible, and support will be available from Gary McGill, today the ICT officer, and he's on 01467 536 214. Can I ask the Deputy Clerk, please, to take the sederant?
Thank you. We have apologies from Ms Dawn Black. Mr Jeff Crowson.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mrs Marion Houston.
I'm here.
Mr Jeff Goodall.
Here.
Mr Trevor Mason.
Present.
Mr Richard Maynard.
Good morning. Present.
Mrs Jenny Nichol.
Present.
I have apologies from Miss Tracy Smith. Miss Mel Sullivan.
Here.
And Mr Ian Taylor.
Good morning, I'm here.
Thank you. We also have PC James Stewart from Police Scotland in the meeting. We have our LSOs Keith Simpson, Lisa Gadini and Sarah Ward, with apologies from Kevin MacDonald. And on live stream, we have Jenny Mearns and we have Gillian Scott, our paralegal, in the meeting as well. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. We now move on to declaration of interest. So members, please state if you have an interest to declare, and if you have, please clarify by giving the item number, the nature of the declaration, and whether or not you will leave the meeting. Don't see any indications. So we'll move on to the equalities resolution. I'm working on one screen today, so you will notice it's a bit different. So in making decisions on the attached reports, members are reminded of their legal duty under section 149 of the Equality Act 2010 to have due regard to the need to eliminate discrimination, harassment and victimisation, advance equality of opportunity between those who share a protected characteristic and persons who do not share it, and to foster good relations between those who share a protected characteristic and persons who do not share it. Do members agree?
Agreed.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hold on, I need to get back to the... This is why we normally have 2 or 3 screens up. So the first item today is the appointment of a deputy convener. Miss Dawn Black was the deputy convener of the licensing board, but she's given up that post, but she will remain on the board. So all the best to Dawn for her appointment as an MSP, and I thank her for remaining as a board member as well. Can I seek nominations for the post of deputy convener, please? Mr. Maynard.
Yeah, I would like to nominate Mrs. Jenny Nichol, please. I think she'd be an asset to you.
Okay, thank you. Have we got a seconder for that? Mr. Goodall?
I'll second that nomination. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Are you willing to accept that post, Jenny?
Yes, thank you, convener.
Yeah, and thank you. And I'm sure I'll rely on your support as vice convener. Thank you for taking that on. We now move on to item 4, the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 29th of April. The minutes for approval as a correct record only. can we agree it's a correct record? I believe there is an amendment we did spot.
There is
and they were missing.
Mr. Mason has missed off one of the voting tables in the minutes, so we will get that corrected. So subject to that correction, the minutes are submitted for approval.
Okay, can we agree the minute?
Agreed.
Okay, so agreed with that amendment. That's good. So then we move on to item 5, which is our applications for premises or provisional premises licenses, which are non-contentious. And the officer presenting today is Jill Scott. So I'll hand over to you, Jill.
Thank you. Good morning. Number 1 for non-contentious provisional premises licence is Lidl Bankery. The applicant seeks a provisional premises licence for a new Lidl supermarket serving the town of Bankery as part of a new retail park. The applicant seeks off sales Monday to Sunday, 10 AM to 10 PM. The premises will offer retail sales of general groceries, meat, dairy, fresh fruit, vegetables, chilled and frozen goods, and other seasonal goods, household products, and newspapers. The premises may operate out with licensed hours subject to demand from time to time. The premises will operate between the hours of 6 AM and 11 PM. Recorded background level music may be played during all of the opening times. And the premises may offer customers from time to time free tastings of products available for sale in the supermarket. This could include alcohol. The non-seasonal capacity of the premises will be 58.14 metres squared, and every year there will be an additional seasonal capacity from the 1st of December to the 2nd of January, which will be 9.72 metres squares, which creates an overall capacity of 67.86 metres squared. There have been no objections following consultation. The LSO have recommended local conditions to be attached to the licence, which the applicant has accepted. The applicant has returned the signed confirmation of site notice, and as there are no other outstanding issues, the officer recommendation is to grant the licence subject to the agreed local conditions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do the board members have any questions or comments to make? No, so in that case, under the terms of recommendation 1.2a, does the board have sufficient evidence to allow a determination to be made?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And in terms of the recommendation 1.2b, having determined there is sufficient evidence, should the application be granted or refused?
Granted.
Yeah.
Granted. Okay, thank you. So that application is granted. We move on to the second application.
So that's the
No,
end of
sorry.
sorry.
Yeah.
Item 6.
Yes, item 6, sorry. Applications for major variation of premises licence, non-contentious. And again, it's over to you, Jill, to take us through that report.
Thank you. So the first of our non-contentious major variations are farm to table in Lawrencekirk. The applicant is seeking to amend the layout plan to include the addition of a toilet and kitchen space. In order to do this, the alcohol off-sale display has been relocated. This results in a slight change of capacity from 3.48 metres squared to 3.124 metres squares. The applicant also seeks the addition of restaurant facilities and on-sales to be provided during core licensed hours and at occasional events outside of the core hours. The applicant also wishes to relax children's access to allow children access when accompanied by a responsible adult until the end of an event, and young persons access unaccompanied until 6 PM and accompanied thereafter till the end of an event. The applicant wishes to remove existing wording in question 5F of the operating plan regarding takeaway and seating to reflect the changes above. No comments have been made by any of the consultees. The applicant has agreed to the local conditions as set out in the report, and there are no specific conditions. The confirmation certificate regarding the display of the site notice has been submitted, and the officer recommendation is to grant the application subject to the agreed local conditions.
Okay, thank you. Does the board wish to discuss the content of the report or ask any questions? No. So in that case, under the first recommendation there, does the board have sufficient evidence to allow a determination to be made?
Yes.
Yes.
And in terms of the second recommendation, 1.2b, having determined that there is sufficient evidence, should the application be granted or refused?
Granted.
Granted.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to the second one, which is a Tesco store in Turriff.
Tesco Tariff, the applicant is seeking an amendment to capacity from 51.53 metres squared to 51.66 metres squared, following a variation to the approved layout plan. The applicant is also seeking to amend the wording in question 5F of the operating plan to reflect the store's everyday trading, inclusive of alcohol sales, but not limited to. The applicant also seeks a variation to the description of the premises to reflect this. The applicant has agreed to the local conditions as set out in the report, and there are no specific conditions. The confirmation certificate regarding display of the site notice has been submitted, and the officer recommendation is to grant the application subject to the agreed local conditions.
Okay, thank you. So again, do members wish to discuss the content of the report or have any questions? No. So in terms of the first recommendation, can you just confirm, please, that you've got sufficient evidence to allow a determination to be made?
Yes.
Yes.
Agreed.
So in that case, should the application be granted or refused?
Granted.
Granted.
Granted. Okay, so that one is also granted. So we now move on to the third application, which is for the Royal Oak, Duke Street, Huntly.
The Royal Oak Huntly applicant seeks to add outdoor drinking as an activity during and out with core licence hours on the operating plan to include the wording, the outdoor drinking area will be used for alcohol services up until 10 p.m, but may be used for soft drinks, etc. out with the licence hours. The applicant also seeks to amend children's access to allow children access to all public areas, including the external area, with the exception of the public bar. The applicant also wishes to amend the capacity to 172, which will amend the external capacity from 16 increasing to 25. The confirmation certificate has been submitted and the applicant has accepted the proposed local conditions. There are no specific conditions and the application is recommended to be granted subject to the agreed conditions.
Okay, thank you. So it's open now for members if you've got any questions or comments you want to make. I do actually have a question for I think it would be the LSO might be able to answer. The use of the outdoor area out with core licensing hours for serving soft drinks, etc. The issue usually with outdoor areas is that they can be noisy, which is one of the reasons that there's no use after 10 p.m. So I just wondered how this was going to work. I don't know who was the LSO on this one.
That would have been Sarah Ward, Chair.
Yeah. Sarah, are you able to answer?
Yeah, absolutely. So the applicant is by agent. I spoke with the premise manager at the premises, and he says it's not going to be that often that that customers will be allowed outside with soft drinks. It is used for predominantly a smoking area, but he can see them using that area for soft drinks if they were going out for smoking only. The area is covered by CCTV. He didn't see that going to be a regular occurrence using it for outside drinking for soft drinks. It would be not used that often for that purpose.
Mm-hmm. Any more questions? I just wonder if we would need some assurance that it isn't used for that purpose. It is unusual, but I mean, we have seen outdoor areas that are, once it's out with the licensing hours, they are used as smoking areas, and that seems to be relatively accepted. So I think we're maybe okay with that. But it is a strange thing to put in if they're not going to be using it. Fiona?
You may wish to consider granting in principle, subject to a specific condition that ties in the consumption of soft drinks to use of the area as a smoking area after the hours of 10 o'clock. And if the applicant agrees to that, then it would be issued subject to that. If the applicant doesn't, we can refer the application back for a full hearing to the August board. That may be appropriate.
Okay, I would suggest that we do that. We agree in principle, and with the condition on. Are members
Agree.
agreeing to that?
I agree.
You're content.
Yeah, yeah. So the condition, so we would agree in principle. Well, first of all, we need to have we had sufficient information.
Yes.
Yes, we
Yeah.
have.
Yes.
And I would suggest then that we can agree in principle with that additional condition. And if the applicant doesn't agree to that condition, they can come back to the next board. Okay?
Yep.
Do we need to improve the
agreed.
wording of that, Fiona?
No, I think it will keep it relatively simple along the lines of
Yeah.
what I've said, but we do have to get the applicant to agree to that specific
To the
condition.
condition.
So I think that gives us enough to proceed. Before Jill goes on to the next one, I have somebody called Lynn waiting in the lobby. Do we know, or are anybody expecting somebody called Lynn to attend the
Yes,
board?
I suspect that is Lynn Duncan from Duncanos, which is on the agenda shortly.
Okay, I'll just bring her in.
Mhm.
Good morning, Lynn. You're now in the board meeting. If I could ask you to keep your microphone muted meantime, thank you. Oh,
Okay.
she's not coming.
No.
Good morning, Lynn. You're now in the board meeting. If I could ask you to keep your microphone muted meantime, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. And just so that Lynn's aware as well, the meeting is being live streamed and recorded. So the next application is for Afford Golf Club, Montgeary Road, Afford. Jill, can you take us through the application,
Yes.
please?
So Afford Golf Club, the applicant seeks to extend an off-sale opening times from 10 AM daily and the reduction of on-sale hours to the terminal hour being midnight on Friday and Saturday evenings. The applicant seeks to add outdoor drinking facilities as an activity to be provided during the core licensed hours. They seek to add indoor and outdoor sports as an activity onto the operating plan during and out with core licensed hours. And they wish to update the current wording of section 60 times to which children and young persons will be allowed entry to include the outdoor drinking facilities. There are no restrictions on the times that young persons may access the premises, including outdoor areas. Children are allowed access to the premises, including the outdoor areas, during the hours the premises are open up until 21:30 hours, except when attending a function at the premises, when they have access until the terminal hour of the function. The applicant wishes to update the current wording of section 6E, parts of the premises to which children and young persons will be allowed entry, to include the outdoor drinking facilities. And here they would like children and young persons will have access to all public parts of the premises, including outdoor areas, although children are not permitted access to the bar. The applicant finally seeks to increase the capacity by 48 to take account of the addition of outdoor drinking, making the overall capacity of the premises 279 persons. No representations have been made. The confirmation certificate has been submitted and the applicant has accepted the proposed local conditions. There are no specific conditions and the application is recommended to be granted subject to the agreed conditions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Members have any questions or comments? No. So in terms of that first recommendation there, does the board have sufficient evidence to allow a determination to be made?
Yes.
Yes.
And in terms of the second recommendation, 1.2b, having determined there is sufficient evidence, should the application be granted or refused?
Grant.
Granted.
Grant. So that application is also granted. So we move on to number 5, which is the Royal Lochnagar Distillery and Visitor Centre at Balmoral. So Jill, can you take us through this one?
The Royal Lochnagar Distillery, the variation seeks to amend the wording in Section 5 of the operating plan to permit gaming and to indicate that sports will take place out with core hours, and to change the wording to clarify that films may take place out with core licensed hours, and the inclusion of wording in question 5F to reference guided tours, exhibitions, talks, workshops and demonstrations, the holding of events, ceilidhs, networking events, product launches, arts, crafts and creative demonstrations. Activities including yoga and Pilates, and as a starting finishing point or as a refreshment or support point for running and cycling races and sporting events. Festival and Christmas events with external food and drink facilities, during which pop-up bars, mobile units and temporary structures will be permitted. The applicant seeks to amend the layout plans to include the addition of the area casks of Distinction Warehouse to reflect minor changes which have been made to the retail area to show the off-sale capacity in metres squared, and to show external areas which are to be used for off-sales, and finally to show where alcohol stores will be located. The applicant lastly looks to amend the description of the premises to read Distillery Visitor Centre, being building with external courtyard adjacent to Royal Lochnagar Distillery, neighbouring Balmoral Castle, together with external area in front of premises, external grass area to rear and external area at nearby dam, and an area of casks of Distinction Warehouse. The applicant requires to submit an amended off-sale figure to ourselves. No other representations have been made, and the premises licence is already subject to local conditions. There are no specific conditions on this licence, and the recommendation would be to grant in principle upon receipt of the updated off-sale capacity.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, members? No. So in that case, can we just confirm that we've received sufficient information upon which to make a determination?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. And having determined there is sufficient evidence, should the application be granted or refused?
Granted in principle.
Grant.
Yes, it's granted, and it's granted in principle as outlined. We now move on to the 6th application here, and it's for Deja Vu Nightclub, 28 Queen Street, Peterhead. So, Jill, over to you.
The application for Deja Vu is a variation of the operating plan to include televised sports as an activity. This will assist the applicant to be able to provide for situations such as the current World Cup. There have been no representations following consultation. There have been no further conditions recommended to be added to the licence. We are awaiting receipt of the signed confirmation of site notice and would recommend that the application be granted in principle upon the receipt of the signed site notice.
Okay, thank you. Do members wish to discuss the report or any questions? No. So in that case, can we just confirm that you've received sufficient information upon which to make the decision?
Yes.
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 Yeah. And given that we do have sufficient evidence, do members wish to grant or refuse the application?
Grant.
Grant.
Grant. Okay, so that one is also granted. So we then move on to number 6, which is the Tesco application, and it's Tesco at Stonehaven.
Thank you.
So
Yep.
back to Jill.
Thank you, Tesco Express. So the final of the non-contentious variations, the applicant seeks to, following on from store refurbishment and the way in which shelf capacity has been calculated, amend the capacity from 24.55 metres squared to 24.613 metres squared. And the applicant, whilst amending the capacity, is also seeking to amend the description of the premises and the operating plan at question 5F to reflect the supermarket's trading habits as a whole, as well as in terms of alcohol sales. The LSO has recommended conditions which the applicant has accepted. There are no specific conditions and there have been no other representations. I have just this morning received the confirmation of site notice and therefore would recommend the application be granted in line with the recommended local conditions.
Okay, thank you. So, any questions, members? No. So just can we confirm that you've received sufficient evidence to allow determination to be made?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And in that case, should the application be granted or refused? It's a grant, I would suggest. Granted, yes. Okay, thank you. So that brings us to the end of the non-contentious applications. And we move on to item 7, which is the first of our hearings for today. It's an application for a provisional premises licence for Logie Country House in the estate at Pitcaple, Inverurie. And Fiona is going to take us through the report. And I think we've got
Arlene
agent
Dunbar
in attendance.
should
What's
be in
Arlene
attendance.
Dunbar?
And the LSO should be present as well, in case there are any questions, Chair.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. By way of introduction, this application is referred to committee for a hearing because of amendments that may be required to be made to conditions 34 and 35 of the local conditions relating to the outside drinking area. All other parts of the application have been agreed. For the sake of completeness, the application form and related paperwork is included at Appendix 1. So the concentrated part for the board today is the conditions. As the board are aware, the officers have no power to amend or remove those conditions because they form part of the board's policy, so only the board can make those decisions. The procedure here today would be to hear from Arlene Dunbar in relation to justifying why those conditions should be either varied in their terminology or removed completely. The LSO is also present to answer any questions that you may have in relation to proposed wording, summing up in reverse order before moving to a decision. So everything else is agreed. And my apologies that the report says that 35 has not been agreed, but I have clarified it is conditions 34 and 35. So it's both conditions that Arlene Dunbar will be addressing you on today. Everything else is in agreement and can be granted. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So we'll just go through the procedure. Can I confirm that the applicant or their agent is present? So that's Arlene Dunbar. Can you just confirm you're there?
Yes, good morning.
Okay, thank you. Are you satisfied that you've received all the relevant information, and do you feel able to participate in the determination of the application?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Can I also confirm that Lisa Godini, the LSO, is present in this case? Are you there, Lisa?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. So Lisa's there just in case we have any questions.
Sorry,
So-
I've got representation, so rather than here for comments, I have a
Oh, yes.
outstanding representation.
My
In line with
apologies,
the
Lisa.
guidance you've received in the public participant meeting protocol for licensing board hearings, please can you mute your microphone when not speaking if your phone permits this. Please do not speak unless I invite you to do so, and please do not interrupt the other speakers. If you do, you may be removed from the meeting. Once you've been asked to make concluding remarks, you're entitled to speak again unless to answer a question from a board member. Once the board has made its decision, you will be asked to leave the meeting. If the board requires to adjourn to deliberate the application, the recording of the meeting will be paused and the board will retire to a separate online meeting room. Please wait in the main meeting room until the board members return and we can resume the meeting. At that point, the recording of the meeting will be restarted. I will now ask the Deputy Clerk to introduce the report. So I think we've covered that already,
Yes, Chair.
Fiona? Yeah.
Yes.
So in that case, I'll go straight to Arlene Dunbar to outline the terms of the application to the board, and you might want to address the question of the local conditions 34 and 35.
Thank you and good morning. Logie House is an exclusive use wedding venue situated within the Logie estate at Pitcable. This application relates to the purpose-built ballroom, the courtyard, front lounge and the wider external grounds. For clarification, Logie House itself is not included as part of this application. The applicant has been operating from this venue for around 14 years and currently hosts in the region of 95 weddings per year, which is approximately 2 events a week. So this is a well-established premises and an experienced operator. As your clerk has advised, the issue today for members is whether it's appropriate in the circumstances of this particular premises to depart from policy by removing or amending conditions 34 and 35 in respect of the outdoor areas. Outdoor drinking at the premises may take place in the courtyard, the front lounge and the wider grounds. These areas are more accurately described as an integral part of the private event setting, rather than a conventional outdoor drinking area that's more commonly associated with public premises. It may also assist members to note that the use of these outdoor areas in practice are largely dependent on Scottish weather conditions, and as such their use is intermittent and auxiliary to the main indoor function rather than a consistent and primary outdoor drinking space. So firstly, turning to condition 34, we fully appreciate this is a standard condition that is commonly applied to outdoor areas. However, I would respectfully invite the board to consider whether it is necessary or appropriate for these particular venue. The premises, as I've said, is an exclusive use wedding venue. It is not open to the general public and attendance is limited to invited guests at pre-arranged events. As such, it is a closely managed and controlled environment and quite different from the type of premises that condition 34 typically apply to. The applicant has no issue with a restriction on amplified music outdoors, although there are no immediate neighbours to the premises. The difficulty lies with the wider restriction on any other form of musical entertainment, which could unintentionally prevent or limit elements that are typical at a wedding, such as a harpist, a string quartet, or perhaps a singer. Also, the requirement for physical barriers and signage to delineate the outdoor area is more suited, again, to a public drinking setting. The external area forms part of the wider venue and is managed as an event space. So delineating the outside space might be impractical as well as unnecessary for this particular venue. But I would emphasise that the premises will remain under the close supervision of the licence holder and the staff at all time, and they will have clear oversight of the guests and their activities in these areas. Turning to condition 35, the same practical considerations arise in relation to children and young persons. Your standard wording limits their presence in outdoor areas to the consumption of food. This doesn't readily reflect how weddings operate. Guests will not typically be consuming food in outdoor areas or be seated. They will naturally move between the indoor and outdoor areas throughout the day, and children may spend time outdoors, play in the grounds, or accompany family members outside, for example, to get photographs or just to socialise with other guests. It's our submission that allowing children reasonable access to the external area remains consistent with the licensing objectives, in particular the one protection of children and young persons from harm. Children attending weddings are usually part of large family groups. They remain under their parental or family supervision, and they are within a private and pre-arranged controlled environment. In summary, the Logie Estate is a long-established wedding venue. It's operating in a private, supervised and family-orientated environment. The external areas are auxiliary to the main ballroom premises and are used as part of that overall managed premises. For these reasons, I would respectfully invite the board to depart from its policy by removing the conditions or otherwise amending them as you see fit, on the basis that the standard wording does not appropriately reflect the nature, operation and risk profile of the premises. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I'll now go to Lisa Gadini, the LSO, to speak to your representation.
Thank you very much. Following consideration of the application, the LSO representation is contrary to policy in respect to local conditions 34 and 35. Condition 34 is in relation to no amplified music or noise emitting from the use of microphones, speakers, or other forms of music entertainment shall be played within the outdoor areas. And condition 35 is that children and young persons may be present in the street cafe, beer garden, or outside drinking areas for the purpose of consumption of food. Given the nature of the premises is predominantly an exclusive hire wedding venue, I did not feel that either of these conditions were wholly appropriate to include in my recommended conditions. Whilst I am of the opinion that condition 34 is not wholly appropriate for the premises, I also do not believe that there should not be controls in relation to noise coming from the outdoor areas. If the board are minded not to attach condition 34 to the premises licence, I have proposed additional conditions. These are: 1, the licence holder shall ensure that the use of recorded music or unamplified forms of live music are permitted in the outdoor areas, providing it is background music only. 2, the licence holder shall ensure that no other amplified music or noise emitted from the use of microphones, speakers, or other forms of entertainment shall be played within the outdoor areas. And 3, the licence holder shall ensure that background music, live performance, and theatre are not played in the outdoor areas after 2200 hours. If the board are minded to include condition 34, then there are activities detailed in the activities matrix for the external area, which would contradict the condition, for example, recorded music. In relation to local condition 35, I have not recommended this condition as the outdoor areas will be used during the wedding for drinks receptions, for photographs, etc., as well as use by residents of the house for the duration of the hire of the venue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, Ms Dunbar, have you anything you wish to say, having heard from the LSO?
As far as the LSO's recommended conditions, I don't have any issue accepting the first and third.
Oh, you've gone on to mute, darling.
Oh, sorry, I think my papers were lying on my spacebar. In respect to the proposed conditions that the LSO has proposed as an alternative, I don't have any issue accepting condition 1 and 3. As I said in my submissions, if there is no amplified music, again, we don't have any issue with it. As long as we can have some form of music, we're happy that it's not amplified.
Okay, thank you. So now, board members, have you any questions to ask of either party? Mr Goodall, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just questioning regarding the music. Clarification from Lisa Gardini. After 10 o'clock, there will be no music at all. That's my understanding of what you said. But there would be background music only before 10 o'clock and possibly live. And to Arlene Dunbar, you're proposing that there should be no amplified music, but there should be music after 10 o'clock. Is that correct?
I'll come in first, will I? Is that all right?
Yes, we'll go to you first, Lisa. That's the first question.
Obviously, what I've proposed is proposition only. It's for consideration if you wish to move away from condition 34. But yes, my recommendation would be that it is background music available in the outdoor areas, and it would cease by 10 o'clock at night.
Okay, thank you. Ms Dunbar?
We're happy to accept that there would be no music outdoors after 10 o'clock.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions from members? Okay, so we'll just go to closing remarks then. I'll go to Lisa first. Do you wish to say anything in closing?
No, I'm good, thank you very much.
Okay, and Ms Dunbar, have you anything you wish to say in closing?
No, thank you. I think I've said everything. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do board members require any legal advice from the clerk?
Nope.
Nope. So in that case, Fiona, can you outline the terms of the legal test for the application, please? Fiona.
Thank you. The legal test is as set out in Appendix 4 on page 104 of your papers, and the grounds of refusal are set out subparagraph 5. I can advise that none of them would apply. There is no information before the board that would lead to a refusal, and that the sole thing that you have to decide is whether or not to remove or modify conditions 34 and 35. What I would suggest you consider, if the board is so minded, is removal of local conditions 34 and 35, and then add the recommended conditions as put forward by Lisa, if you're minded to accept that wording as specific conditions attached to the licence, and that would be the way forward. But you can also amend the wording or remove them in entirety and not replace them if you're so minded, Chair. And apologies for the dog.
Okay, thank you. Do members wish to retire to deliberate? No. So I'll open the matter for debate. Mr. Goodall.
Just to say that I would personally be content with removing 34, 35 and putting the additional the conditions in from Lisa Gardini, which basically is there would be no music after 10 o'clock at night. I would be content with that.
Okay, we're still in debate, so Ms. Nicholl.
Thank you, Kavina. Yeah, I'm similarly minded. I think I'm content that we've heard justification why we need to do that departure from policy with that application, so I'm in the same position.
Okay, thank you. So can I just now confirm that board members have received sufficient evidence upon which to make a decision?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so can I call for a motion then, please? It sounded like that's what we were heading towards. Mr. Goodall.
And my motion would be, as we've discussed earlier, remove 34 and 35 and add the conditions from the LSO in their stead.
Okay, as written by the LSO?
Yes.
Yeah. And is there a seconder? Jenny, Mrs. Nicholl?
Yeah, I'm happy to second. If we can just add that we've heard that it's we've got justification for the departure from policy.
Okay, happy to have that added. Jeff? Yeah. Do we all agree? I think that would be unanimous. I don't see a contrary view. No.
Agreed.
Okay. Do you just want to go over that decision, Fiona?
Sorry, I was busy typing there. Yes, Ms. Dunbar, I can confirm that the application has been granted today. And due to a justification for departure to policy, local conditions 34 and 35 being removed, but there will be 3 specific conditions added to the licence reflecting the conditions put forward by the licensing standards officer. You'll receive written notification within the next 7 days and your licence will be issued to you in due course. Thank you for coming, and my apologies for my croaky voice. I am having problems with my vocal cords. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we now move on to item 8 on the agenda today, which is an application for a major variation of premises licence. It's a hearing again, and it's Doug Cano's Unit 17 West Hills Shopping Centre. The applicant is Duncanos Group Limited, and I think everybody has already been admitted to the meeting.
Yes, Chair, we have David Scott, the agent, and I believe his client is Lynn, who's also present via Teams.
Okay, thank you. So please note the board meeting will be recorded and published online for public viewing after the meeting. So can I just confirm that the applicant or their agent is present? Could you respond, please?
Yes, indeed, convener, I'm present.
Okay, so that's Mr. Scott. And is the applicant present to answer questions, or you just confirm that you're there?
That would be Lynn.
Yeah.
Yes, I am. I'm here. Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So are you satisfied that you've received all the relevant information and feel able to participate in the determination of the application?
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you. And can I also confirm that Lisa Godini, the LSO, is present?
Yes, I'm here.
And are you satisfied that you've received all the relevant information and feel able to participate in the determination of the application?
Yes.
Yep. So in line with the guidance you've received in the public participant meeting protocol for licensing board hearings, please can you mute your microphone when not speaking if your phone permits this. Please do not speak unless I invite you to do so, and please do not interrupt the other speakers. And if you do, you may be removed from the meeting. Once you've been asked to make concluding remarks, you're not entitled to speak again unless to answer a question from a board member. Once the board has made its decision, you will be asked to leave the meeting. If the board requires to adjourn to deliberate the application, the recording of the meeting will be paused and the board will retire to a separate online meeting room. Please wait in the main meeting room until the board members return and I can resume the meeting. At that point, the recording of the meeting will be restarted. I will now ask the Deputy Clerk to introduce the report and confirm the procedure for the hearing.
Thank you, Chair. This is an application for a major variation of a premises licence for Duncanos at West Hill, and the applicant is seeking to extend core hours for on sales by 1 hour in the mornings, 7 days a week. This falls out with the terms of the board's current policy. They're also extending core hours for off sales by 1 hour in the morning, 7 days a week, from 11 till 10, and this represents the maximum off sale hours that can be applied for under the Act. The applicant is also adding conference facilities, films and televised sport as activities to the operating plan. They're also amending access for children and young persons so that children and young persons do not require to be accompanied by an adult until 8 p.m. and can remain in the premises between 8 p.m. and the terminal hour where accompanied by an adult, as well as they're amending their access for outdoor areas. They're removing the requirement for children under 15 to be permitted entry for the purposes of consuming a meal on the premises. They've updated the activities matrix to reflect the changes sought and are amending section 5 of the operating plan to read that the premises will open out with core hours to provide food and non-alcoholic refreshments, recorded music, films, televised sport, receptions, club meetings and conference facilities which may be available at these times. Children and young persons will also be allowed access to all public parts of the premises but will not be permitted to sit or stand at the bar counter. The application has been referred to the hearing of the board primarily because of the extension to on-sale hours in the morning being out with the terms of the board's current policy, and on certain days, if granted, it will result in the premises exceeding the 14-hour trading recommendations set out in the Scottish Government's statutory guidance as reflected in the board's policy. In addition, the Licensing Standards Officer has made a detailed representation in respect of the changes the applicant wishes to make, which are set out at Appendix 2. There have been no written submissions provided in advance of the hearing, but I understand that amendments have been made by Mr. Scott right up until before the board meeting, and I can confirm that I've received an amended layout plan which reflects the changes to the activities matrix. So the LSO and Mr. Scott may be in a position to update the board on where they stand in relation to the representation made by the LSO. The procedure is as set out in Appendix 6 to the report. To hear the applicant, hear the LSO, the applicant has a right of response, questions by board members to all parties, summing up in reverse order before moving to a decision. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So can I ask Mr. Scott to outline the terms of the application to the board? You might want to address the concerns raised in the representation, but you will get a further opportunity to address the board after other parties have spoken. So over to you, Mr. Scott, please.
Thank you, Chair. Well, for those who don't know me, I'm David Scott of David Scott Licensing, and as you've heard, I'm representing Duncanos for their major variation application of the premises license. And as you've also heard, the proprietor, Lynn Duncan, is also online and can answer any questions. If you're not familiar with the premises, they're located within the shopping centre at West Hill. It's a family-friendly restaurant with a small outdoor area. The principal purpose of submitting the application for the major variation was really to amend the operating plan to include televised sport ahead of the World Cup games. This had previously been included in the operating plan, but removed in error during a previous variation some years ago. The clients then wished to take the opportunity to update some other, what we considered relatively small changes to the operating plan at the same time. And these included some changes to the times at which children could be present, as you've heard, bringing forward the core opening hours and providing for non-alcohol sales prior to the core hours. You'll have seen in the papers the LSO raised a number of points in relation to the changes, but most of these have been resolved to the satisfaction of the LSO, and I think they will be able to confirm this after I have spoken. There's really one outstanding matter that we haven't resolved in the way that it's something that has to come before the board, and that is the question of the opening hours exceeding the board's policy, or at least requiring to come before the board. What we're looking to do is bring forward the core opening hours from 11 AM to 10 AM. The opening hour of 10 AM from Sunday to Thursday is entirely within the board's policy. There's no issue with the time itself being requested, but the terminal hour on a Friday and Saturday is 1 AM. So the consequence of the earlier opening is that there would be a potential of 15 hours of core opening on those 2 days. You'll have seen the LSO's comments that in terms of the board's policy, this application therefore requires further consideration by the board to take account of the extra hour. Applicants have to demonstrate that the additional requested hour is appropriate in the circumstances and will not be inconsistent with the licensing objectives. So it's not that the hour itself is beyond policy, it's just that it must be considered by the board and must not be inconsistent with the licensing objectives. So what we're talking about here is 1 additional hour in the morning on Fridays and Saturdays. We're not looking to extend the terminal hour at all. The board's policy is to give further consideration to any request for more than 14 trading hours. As the actual hours themselves are within policy, this change shouldn't impact on the policy objectives relating to preventing crime and disorder, securing public safety, preventing public nuisance, or protecting children and young persons from harm. What the board might consider is whether the 1 hour extension would be inconsistent with the licensing objective of protecting and improving public health. But what we're talking about here is a restaurant, and the primary function is the service of meals in a seated environment. The sale of alcohol here is very much ancillary to this function, and the extension from 11 AM to 10 AM just represents the addition of a brunch service. It's not an extension of late night drinking. And I think in this particular venue and in this circumstance, it's a different scenario from a pub or a nightclub, where typically the focus of public health concerns regard these extended hours. So the critical factor here is the potential duration that one person can be in the premises. It's not really the total hours that the premises are open. But given the nature of the premises, it's really inconceivable that a customer would remain in the restaurant for 15 hours from 10 AM to 1 AM. 10 AM is more likely to leave before lunch service begins. And even in the highly unlikely scenario that a customer wished to stay for an extended period, we have to remember there's plenty other protections to protect public health in terms of excessive drinking. It's an offence to be drunk on the premises. It's an offence to sell alcohol to anyone who is drunk, and it's an offence to allow drunkenness on the premises. So the idea of looking after one person who might be in there for the extended 15 hours of drinking, it just really wouldn't apply because of these other protections. So what we're looking for is a modest adjustment to the operating schedule to align with the practical needs of the restaurant and allow them to cater for a slightly different demographic at a different time of day. So we would submit that there's legitimate grounds to grant the application, as the nature of the restaurant operation is very different from any premises which would typically give rise to any health concerns. And the proposal is therefore not inconsistent with the licensing objective of protecting public health. So we would ask that the board grants this application.
Okay, thank you. So I'll now go to Lisa Gadini, please. Can you talk to your representation, please?
Thank you very much. The LSO representation has a couple of comments in relation to this application. However, as already discussed, believe the majority of it has now been resolved. It has been proposed by myself and believe it has been accepted that a statement is to be included at section 6B of the operating plan that children can be present in the premises for the purpose of consumption of food, attending age-appropriate events, private functions and watching of televised sports. It has been agreed that any activities taking place out with core hours will only take place prior to the commencement hour. It has also been agreed that the description of the premises shall be amended to remove the statement that children under 15 will be allowed entry only until 2200 hours, as this is now inconsistent with the proposed times for children being permitted in the premises. The layout plan has also been amended in order to remove the previous activities matrix, as this will also be inconsistent with the activities being permitted in the premises following grant of this variation. An updated activities matrix has been included in the application documentation. The purpose of the hearing, therefore, is the proposed commencement of on-sales core hours of 10 a.m. daily. The terminal hour Sunday to Thursday is midnight. However, Friday and Saturday evenings, the terminal hour is 1 a.m. Therefore, sales of alcohol on these days can be up to 15 hours, which is inconsistent with the Aberdeenshire Licensing Policy Statement 2023-28. Whilst I have no difficulty with the proposed commencement hour each day, section 4.4 of the policy states that statutory guidance makes it clear where licensed hours exceed 14 hours, further consideration is required by the board to take account of such extra hours. Additionally, section 4.8 of the policy states that licence holder wishing to exceed the 14-hour duration will require to demonstrate to the board that the additional requested hours are appropriate in the circumstances and will not be inconsistent with the licensing objectives. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. I'll just go over now to Mr. Scott. Have you got anything you wish to add, having heard the submission from the LSO?
No, we're pleased to have resolved most of the points, and as the LSO has said, it's just really a matter for the board to consider whether appropriate justifications to consider the 15-hour trading on the Friday and Saturday.
Okay, thank you. So, board members, have you got any questions? Oh, Fiona, do you want to come in?
Just a point of clarification with Mr. Scott. You've agreed the wording to be updated in the operating plan. I know you gave me an updated layout plan this morning. Have you submitted an amended operating plan to reflect that agreed wording yet?
No, I have not yet. I thought that if the licence was issued, then it would take account of that, but I'm happy to submit an amended operating plan if you wish that to be sent to you.
Thank you. With that clarification, it would be to advise the board that any decision you make today would be an in-principle decision subject to receipt of that updated document after the board. Thank you for the clarification, Mr. Scott.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from members? Mr. Taylor, please.
Yes, thank you very much. It's a question probably for Ms. Duncan, although Mr. Scott might have a input as well. I appreciate his comments in terms of public health and other regulations regarding drunkenness, But my question is, as a restaurant and supplying food from 10 to 11 o'clock, effectively a brunch type menu, is there a significant, is there likely to be a significant sale of alcohol within that 1 hour period?
I'm happy to answer that. I think it's not likely that there would be significant sales, but there may be some, and there may be particular occasions where that does apply. If there was a brunch, and particularly on Saturdays when you might get groups come in for a brunch, it's certainly not going to be a regular thing that as soon as the doors open, people are going to come in and start drinking, and that's never been the case. It's fundamentally a restaurant, and people will come in generally for lunch, but this allows the option of some brunch service as well. The restaurant is open at these times, so we are talking about the sale of alcohol, not extended operating hours of the restaurant itself.
Okay, does that answer your question, Mr. Taylor?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, any more questions, members? No. So in that case, I can go to Lisa Godini, please. Do you wish to say anything in closing?
No, I don't, thank you.
Mr. Scott, do you want to say anything in closing?
No, just really that the policy requires this to be reviewed by the board, but if there's nothing inconsistent with the licensing objectives of protecting public health, then we would like to see it approved. Okay, thank you. Do board members require any legal advice from the clerk at this point? No. Do board members wish to retire to deliberate? No, I don't see any indication. So we can open the debate then, members. Mr. Mason, please.
Yeah, just about the extending to 15 hours. 15 hours is a long time. I feel that it's been edged further and further apart, that we're getting more and more hours of drinking time. And we're supposed to be restricting this as a licensing authority to keep it it's sort of the thin end of the wedge that we're moving forward to increase the number of hours for drinking, which I think is against the licensing obligations.
Okay. I think Mr. Scott was trying to explain that just meant that the restaurant would be open for consumption of alcohol, but it was highly unlikely that somebody would spend 15 hours in there. But we'll go to other members for their comments. Ms. Nicholl, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think this seems quite reasonable. This 1 hour, I think it is the style of business that really we're seeing as well, that there is that trade sometimes in the morning for the kind of brunch menus, celebrating something in a morning. I mean, that's just the kind of business it is. So I thought the word I wrote down was modest. I think that was what Mr. Scott said, and I do think it is a modest adjustment in this case.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Crowson, please.
Yeah, I would agree with the view of Councillor Nicholl.
We're not hearing you very well.
I would agree with the view of Councillor Nicholl. I think it is just a modest change, and I do think in this change in times and that, I would like to see the onus on the business to handle these hours responsibly. It is more about the eating than it is being a drinking establishment. I understand there might be some opportunities where people may come in and have an alcoholic beverage that time of morning, but I would like to see a shift in more responsible drinking and responsible patronage, if that's the right words, but that's my views.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Goodall.
I can see the point from Mr. Mason about the extended hours and thin end of the wedge, but then again, I think to myself, and from a personal perspective, a restaurant doing this sort of thing isn't against our objectives. It doesn't, in my view, increase alcohol consumption because it's primarily a place where they sell food. And excuse me, my throat is going. I think I've got something from Fiona. I don't see an extensive bar arrangement, which is critical here too. If there's no extensive bar arrangement, then there won't be someone turning up early in the morning and staying till late at night with the sole purpose of becoming inebriated. I can't even pronounce the word now. Getting drunk. So yeah, it's a balance, I think, and it is a moderate, as Mrs. Nichols said, it's a moderate change. So we'll see what everyone else thinks. But again, my voice is going, so I'll have to stop. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So no further comments. We can move to determination. Can board members confirm you've received sufficient evidence upon which to make a decision?
Yes.
Yes?
Yep.
Yes.
So have we got a motion? I would be happy to. Oh, there we go. Mrs. Nicholl, please.
Sorry, it's sticky buttons today. Yeah, so I would grant this in principle, subject to that receipt of the revised operating plan. I think we have had sufficient evidence to justify the departure. I think this is quite reasonable and a reasonable adjustment, and would be happy to grant.
Okay, thank you. Have we got a seconder? Mr. Mason?
No, I was wanting to put an amendment to that.
Okay, we'll wait then. I'd be happy to second your motion, Jenny. Is that what your hand's up for as well, Mr. Crowson?
Yeah,
now.
fine, I'll put it in again.
That's okay. So is there an amendment, Mr. Mason?
Yeah, I would like to go along with the LSO's recommendations to limit it to 14 hours, and the other issue just as the LSO, the conditions that the LSO applies.
Okay, is there a seconder? Mr.
I'm happy
Maynard?
happy to second that. So
Okay, thank you.
I don't think it's suitable departure from policy. Thank you.
Okay, I see Fiona is wanting to come in. Do you want to come in at this point,
Yeah.
Fiona?
I would need more justification for that in how it fails to comply with the licensing objectives as set out in the policy, which is reflected at section 3.8, and then the numbering goes askew in the report to 4.4 and 4.8, where licence holders wishing to apply for hours which fall out with the terms of the policy or that exceed 14 hours duration required to demonstrate to the board the additional requested hours are appropriate and will not be inconsistent with the licensing objectives. So for the amendment, I need more reasoning as to why the hours are not appropriate in the circumstances and to how it would be inconsistent with the licensing objectives. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mason?
Yeah. So I've got to justify going outside the policy. Is that correct? Yeah. I've got to justify staying with the policy, should I say?
Well, the policy is not set in tablets of stone, and the policy clearly says that the board recognises that hours contained within the policy are fine, but for applicants looking for hours which fall out with the policy, then they've got to demonstrate to the board that those additional hours are appropriate in the circumstances and will not be inconsistent with the licensing objectives. Excuse me. So it's not a case of it's not out with the policy. The board have indicated they're prepared to justify departures to the policy on those terms. So the motion is that the applicant's agent has justified a departure on those terms. So the amendment that you're putting forward, you've got to reason that you're not prepared to go out with the policy hours as stated to give them additional hours because you deem it not to be appropriate in the circumstances or that it is inconsistent with the licensing objectives. So I need your reasoning for why it's not appropriate to do this or that why it's inconsistent with the licensing objectives, which is what is set out in paragraph 4.8 of the board's policy.
It would be the same reasoning as the policy itself on health. The health of the health of everybody. Yeah.
Public health licensing objectives.
Yes, public health. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that sufficient, Fiona? Yeah.
It's a reason.
It's a reason, yeah. Are you still happy to second, Mr. Menard?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Goodall.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to clarify something. If the amendment states that it's going to the hours are going to be contained within 14, how does that affect the early opening? Is there still a flexibility with the applicant to be able to open at an hour earlier in the morning? So just to clarify that point, please.
Yeah, do you want to answer, Fiona? But they'd be able to open, they just wouldn't be able to sell alcohol.
Yeah, we can't prevent them from opening. They just wouldn't be able to sell alcohol that early.
Okay.
So, sorry, so would we have to specify that in the motion or the amendment? Because to me, in my mind, I'm sorry, I've got a very bad head and chest thing and I'm not thinking properly. But I just want to clarify that because they've asked for an hour of, would they be able to sell alcohol within 14 hours, given other parts of their application have requested that they open an hour early? So would that hour early still apply or would that be removed for the sale of alcohol?
My interpretation of what Mr. Mason's amendment is that on the 2 days where it would exceed the 14 hours, it's almost a partial refusal of the application, that the 10 a.m. would not be granted on those 2 days, but would be on all the other days. So the operating plan that would be issued would be 10 a.m. on all the days that are within 14 and the existing hours for the 2 days when it would exceed the 14, if I'm understanding Mr. Mason correctly. So the operating plan would be granted on that basis, which would be a partial refusal, which would give the applicant the right to appeal.
Okay, I think that's quite clear. So we'll go to summing up. Amendment first. Trevor, Mr. Mason.
Summing up, yeah. I'm not against drinking first thing in the morning, although I've never had a drink at 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm not against it. It's just it's actually the number of hours which the policy was trying to appeal to us for. If he closed an hour earlier, then he could open an hour earlier. So all the same. Yes, that's all I can say. Right, thanks. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Mrs. Nichol.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, my comments still stand. I think in granting this, the applicant is proposing something that's quite reasonable. I don't think it's inconsistent with licensing objectives, and we're not proposing an extension of late night drinking and anything related to, I would say, unsociable behaviour. I think it is that hour in the morning that we're considering. So yeah, I'm happy to consider granting principle for the motion.
Okay, thank you. So I'll just go to the Deputy Clerk then, please.
Thank you, Chair. So the motion is with Mrs Nicholl, seconded by Mrs Ewanson, to grant the application in principle as applied for, subject to receipt of the updated operating plan on the basis that there's sufficient evidence provided by the applicant's agent to justify a departure to policy. The amendment is with Mr Mason, seconded by Mr Menard, to go with the LSO recommendation to limit the hours on the 2 days that exceeds 14 hours trading to 14 hours trading on the basis that it's inconsistent to grant would be inconsistent with the public health licensing objectives. So if you indicate whether you're for the motion or amendment. Mr Crowson.
Motion.
Excuse me. Oh. Mrs Ewanson.
Motion.
Mr Goodall.
Motion.
Mr Mason.
Amendment.
Mr Menard.
Amendment.
Mrs Nicholl.
Motion.
Miss Sullivan.
Motion.
And Mr Taylor.
Motion.
So, Chair, that is 6 votes for the motion and 2 votes for the amendment. So the motion is carried.
Okay, thank you. So can you just confirm the decision taken by the board?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Mr Scott, your client's application is granted in principle today as applied for, subject to the agreed amendments and an amended operating plan being lodged. You'll receive written notification within the next 7 days. And my thanks to you and your client for attending the board today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I can confirm that this hearing is now concluded. So thank you for your interest in this business, and I will ask you to leave the meeting. And I think we should take a short comfort break, and all these folk with sore throats can go and get themselves a drink of Lemsip or something. So it is just after 11:30. So if I say 11, we'll just make it 11:50. Is that okay? So returning at 11:50. So can I ask for the recording and the live streaming to